What's up? Coconut cake, gluten-free on the menu today, using almond flour, brown rice flour. It's got a sour cream addition to the crumb, which adds a lovely sourness to it. Top has a cream cheese frosting and that double whammy sour front, and a true celebration of coconut that is the coconut layer cake. This cake is the base for any other thing you want to add to it. You could go tropical, you could add chocolate, you could do tons of things. World is your oyster. And as with any cake, let's start by prepping our pans. 3 9-inch pans. Get them greased up with a neutral oil or butter. Nice coverage with a brush. Then we're gonna struggle to open some parchment paper. Why don't they make rigging cutters on these? I mean, I know why, but you know, it's the natural one. All right, square shape, fold it over and over on itself, make some triangles, and we're gonna measure. Almost like making 3 paper airplanes. With your pan flipped over, measure from the middle and cut it with some scissors to the outside. I had to trim off a little if it's a little long, but no big deal. Unfold it, should stick nice with the oil, then give it a little more just for fun. I'll grab some dry ingredients. Brown rice flour, baking powder, almond meal, baking soda, and salt will make up our sifted dry ingredients that we'll get into a large bowl and have on hand to add to our mix as we're going in a little while. Add all those to a sifter and work your way through. Woo. Last but not least, toss some salt in because it wouldn't have made it through the sifter. With a whisk, we're just gonna combine these briefly as we do an interesting pan down from the cookbook section. Good times. Whenever I'm making any cake, I like to have the dry ingredients prepped and ready if I need to add them, if the mixture is curdling at all. You know, with any circumstance, it can happen. Coconut cakes are a recipe you really want to use sweetened coconut for instead of shredded coconut. This is more like candy than regular coconut, and when you hit these little pieces inside cake, they're gonna come across more like candy than shredded coconut. So I normally would never use it for anything else, but for coconut cake, it's the way to go. Now for the backbone ingredients: coconut milk, sour cream, egg whites, sugar, butter, vanilla extract, and sweetened shredded coconut. Grab your stand mixer, pop that guy open. We're gonna fit it with a pedal attachment today. Move it over so it looks better and add your softened butter and sugar. Let's make this pale and fluffy. Give it a few minutes until it's nice and soft. Then we'll start slowly incorporating our egg whites. This is gonna cause a little bit of separation initially. Use a little bit of your flour mixture to help bind it together. By doing a gluten-free mix, the binding is gonna be a little weaker than with regular flour. No gluten, so a little bit extra throughout the batch while you're mixing will help. Add your sour cream and keep adding a little if it looks a little separated. Check to make sure it's all getting incorporated by scraping your bowl. Now toss in the rest of your dry ingredient mixture, bring it together while adding your coconut milk, and lastly, folding in the shredded coconut by hand. All right, the best way to do this to make it consistent is to weigh your batter. So on top of a scale, start off, you know, this is a little guessing game unless you had the final measurement. I happened to get 10 grams off on this. I think it was 440. Anyways, offset spatula, tastes good. Smooth these suckers out. We're gonna put these into a 350-degree Fahrenheit preheated oven for about 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes, depending on your oven. You know, every oven's different, so just keep that in mind. We're gonna take these to a nice golden brown, and once a toothpick comes out clean, a couple crumbs, no big deal, so don't worry about that. Now we let them cool, and then we decorate. I've noticed that with gluten-free sponges, I often don't get the same kind of puff that I do with regular flour, so it makes one thing easier, and that's leveling these. These are already level, so I don't have to mess around with that, even though I had the tool ready for it if I needed to. A leveler. All right, let's make our cream cheese frosting. Butter, cream cheese. Whip these guys together until nice and pale and fluffy. Stir it on the bowl a couple times and add your salt and vanilla extract at this step. Grab a scale and a sifter. Let's put some powdered sugar, aka confectioner's sugar, through the sifter. Whisking is the sophisticated way, hands work as well. Just work it all through to make it nice and consistently not clumpy, which will make your life easier if there are clumps in it. You can usually beat those out, but still a pain. Clean off your work surface and whip the crap out of this. Bring it up to a nice pale white consistency. You want it fluffy with quite a bit of air, enough to really make it soft on the palate. Alright, turntable, cake decorating, offset spatula, or icing spatula if you prefer. I like the offset spatulas. We're gonna put a fistful approximately on top of each one of these to make up our middle layers. Just try to make it as even as possible while bringing it out to the edges to meet the outer layer. Once you add that, and it's all stacked up. Alright, next one on. It's much easier to do with a little cake mover like these. There's probably a better name for that, but in my mind, it's a cake mover. Get this guy smoothed out. Now the fun begins. Distributing frosting evenly. Masterful challenge. What's nice about this cake is it's gonna have coconut smashed on it anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to get it pretty square, which I've almost done. I'm using a paint edger for my cake scraper. You can use whatever you got on hand, or the real thing if you have it. Now sprinkle on some sweetened shredded coconut. Just trying to make a nice even layer, pressing it on the top and sides, kind of just picking up the mess as you go. There's really no perfect way to do this, so just do it to your best of your abilities, and at the end of the day, it's a nice messy cake that doesn't have to be perfect. Scrape off your turntable. It helps a lot to chill your cake down a bit before you move it to whatever surface you're doing. I decided to go rogue and made my life a little bit more difficult as it was semi-sticky on the bottom. Add it to a fridge. Like I said, you could do this before, make your life easier, before cutting into it. Ooh. Any things you mess up on the sides, like if it gets compressed, you can always just cover it up with coconut. With a knife, get yourself a nice slice. All right, going sophisticated today. I brought a fork out to play. Coconut cake is one that any birthday or celebration you bring it to, you will see the light in people's eyes come out when they're eating this. I mean, it's just, wow, you know. I promise they'll laugh, they'll cry, and love you forever. Man, does cream cheese frosting kick ass or what? Anything you add that to, just boom. So much more than a regular buttercream. I mean, every time I have a cream cheese frosting, I think, why don't we always do this? Why are we ever using basic buttercreams? They're just so blasé. Having that little sour touch at the end makes such a difference. Cake like this, having sour cream inside as well, subtly adding that combination of sourness to both the crumb and to the frosting. What a match made in heaven, and a true celebration of coconut. I'm gonna celebrate some more coconut, I think. Almost like almost like making 3 paper airplanes. Shredded coconut, and it really comes apart.